Hello creeps! Long time no see, but today I have my book wrap-up, reading wrap-up from last month, and I read some stuff. That's for sure. Some weird stuff, some gross stuff, some odd stuff. It was a rather interesting reading month. So let's just jump into it. I took notes on some of them, but not all of them. The first book actually that I read this year was this month, was called The Lamb by Lucy Rose. This one was actually recommended to me by one of the girls that I follow on Instagram. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. And I've since seen other people talk about this book as well. And actually a lot of you guys have either recommended this or said that you loved it or whatever. So it seems like this is a popular book right now. It's about a young girl. She lives with her mom kind of in the outskirts of this really small town. You good? Arlo has the hiccups. It's so sad when puppies have hiccups. Anyways, so they live in this really teeny tiny town, and they live kind of on the outskirts of even that. And the mom likes to pick up strays, like just random people that get stuck on the road or end up at the house, however. And, you know, she likes to cook them and eat them, like we all do. There's a lot of different topics, I feel like, that are discussed in this book, a lot of different themes. Like you definitely have innocence, loneliness, childhood, puberty, mother and daughter relationships. You have selfishness and personal trauma, as well as like the meaning of love, what the meaning of love is, and taking from others to fill your own voids. It's actually a rather interesting read to sit and analyze, but it is a slow burn. I will say, like, this book is very slow. Not a lot happens in the book. It's basically just this young girl living at this house with her mom and picking up strays, and that's kind of the whole story. So all of these themes are shown, you know, through the interactions with people or the commentary of the little girl or the discussions between her and her mother or whatever. I will say this book was really sad. I was not expecting it to be as sad as it was, and at the end I was just like, that was like pretty heartbreaking story. And you wouldn't think so, because eating people, you're like, oh, this is probably something right up my alley. And it was interesting to read and everything, but I'm very curious, you know, with the different themes and stuff that you guys got from this, and yeah, how you guys feel about this one. I know a lot of you guys liked it, but just curious your full thoughts on this guy. But yeah, really sad. I've read a lot of actually sad books this month. The next book that I read was The Marbled Swarm by Dennis Cooper. This was a strange freaking read. Wouldn't expect anything else from Mr. Dennis Cooper, but I will say I've read quite a few of his books, and they're at least more linear than this one. This one is just very strange. So the back says that it's about these houses with secret passageways. It says the Marbled Swarm is it says, in secret passageways, hidden rooms, and troubled minds of our narrator, a mystery perpetually takes shape. And that's kind of all it really tells you. But for me personally, I would say that the houses with hidden rooms and stuff was much more of a metaphor than it was the actual plot of the book. Like, sure, it's mentioned and they're talked about, but it's a weird book, okay? It's about this man. He goes to buy this very fancy house, and he meets the people who are selling the house, who are just the most fucked up people, and he ends up kidnapping the son. The house has like secret passageways, and you think that that's weird enough, but that's not even where the weirdness begins, okay? Then the story just changes from there, and we go on different kind of like thought journeys with the main character. He's like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this, and then you kind of go off on all these different tangents. The Marbled Swarm is this amalgamation of language that his father threw together and taught to him. And the Marbled Swarm, it's kind of like sleight of hand. He says a lot, but he doesn't actually really tell you anything. And even when he does tell you, not only is he an unreliable narrator, but the story is set up so weird. At the end, it makes you think, what actually happened? Wait, what is actually happening right now? It's one of those, you know? But anyways, the book has a lot of like familial relations in them, a lot of imitation, and also, you know, incest and cannibals. It's It's me, what can I say? Okay, there's gonna be a little incest and cannibals in some of these books. Yeah, you don't really ever know what's true, what the hell's going on, you don't know what's what. It's really fun at times to read. It's gross at times, like this is not one for everyone. There's some messed up stuff in here. It is a Dennis Cooper book, okay? So it gets really dark, okay? And weird and strange. But anyways, it's also kind of boring and frustrating at times too. And this is why I love books like this, because it's meant to be like that. Like sometimes when this guy's talking, you just want to punch him. He's such like a pretentious asshole. And it's just an interesting book. I've never read anything like this in my life. And I really enjoyed this one, but I will say it is gross, it is dark, it is not a linear story, and it does not wrap up and make you feel satisfied at the end a way that a lot of novels do. So, you know, read at your own risk. I also was looking at, I don't know why I Googled it, but I Googled it for some reason, and then somebody had posted on, I think it was on Reddit, and the post just said, which one of you sick fucks recommended me The Marbled Swarm? And I just started cracking up. Anyways, the next book that I read was A Sincere Warning About the Entity in Your Home. This is by Jason Arnott. And I had previously read his novel, The Last Days of Jack Sparks. I read that one many moons ago. So I saw this and it was like a little short novella. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to read that. So, and it sounded creepy. It's basically about a man, I guess a man moving into a new house, but really it takes place in the previous owner's perspective, and it's through letter form explaining to the new residents that there is some sort of entity in their house. So it's a sincere warning about the entity in their house. So it's a really cool concept. Like imagine moving in and you get this letter in the mail and it's like, hey, by the way, you're going to be experiencing some messed up stuff and let me tell you about it. That would be so creepy and fun. And like it was fine. And like a cool original concept, I will give it that. There were some things in here where you just had to have such a suspension of disbelief. And we're talking about entities in a house, so I guess you would anyways. But somewhat, like there's some medical stuff in there that I'm like, really? Come on. I don't know. You just had to really, really have a suspension of disbelief for this one, which I wasn't 100% on board with. I also felt like there wasn't anything really, it's a unique concept, but as far as the entity goes, I don't feel like we were given anything that wasn't in other horror books. You know, like the waking up at 3 a.m. and seeing the voice or seeing the face in mirrors and whatever it was. It just felt very, yeah, I've seen this before, you know? So I didn't really feel like it added much other than the original concept to the genre, and it wasn't creepy, and this could have been so creepy. The idea of this story just drew me in and I was really excited to read it. And it was fine. At the end of the day, like if you just want something short and sweet and, you know, whatever, read it. But it wasn't anything that I like fell in love with, which was a bummer because it sounded really, really cool when I went to pick it up. The next one that I read was At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca. This one was just sent to me and I could not wait to get my grubby little paws all over it. I was so excited. Oh, I did take notes on this one. I don't think the inside, it's one of those where it doesn't really tell you much. It just says basically that there's this man and he's helping construct a peculiar ritual for those who desire to die. Ashley has constructed a peculiar ritual for those who desire to die, is at war with their yearning to live a better life. So basically he's helping other people who are experiencing grief because he himself is experiencing grief. This is a bleak little book, I'm not gonna lie. And it explores themes, like I said, of loss, grief, guilt, blah, blah, blah. But it does get quite dark and it does get quite strange in places, which I really liked. It felt like a few removed from something like this, you know? Like there were still really messed up stuff, things that were happening in this book, but there are stories within the story, and I was kind of waiting for all of these stories to come back and wrap around into this, like, you know, linear novel, because that's what it is, but it's quite short, as you can see, and so I just felt like there was a lot going on for such little space in the book. You know, when you have only like a 200 and something page book, every word's got to count. Yeah, 220 pages. That's a little over that. That's a pretty small horror novel. And there's like probably 4 or 5 different stories going on. And maybe they are there for a reason, and maybe I just missed that reason. But to me, it felt much more like kind of short stories thrown together that didn't quite connect in the way that I wanted them to. Some of it was about the man and the weird ritual and what he's doing to help people, but there's also these like random tangents about really messed up things. It just didn't quite feel cohesive to me. That being said, I really wanted to finish this book. I was never bored reading it. I did not want to put it down. I would say that it felt, like I said, a bit of like short stories thrown together, but it was an enjoyable ride. And even if it wasn't the perfect conclusion to a story, I was still really interested in it. So this one was a little bit harder to rate because I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's not, maybe not the most like polished, flawless novel that's ever been made, but it is interesting and it is quite unique. And I just wish that we had a little bit more of those additional stories that were thrown in there, or maybe some like reason why they were there. Like at one point they just go on this tangent. He talks to this guy online and this guy goes on this tangent and tells him this fucked up story. And you're like, but what was that there for? What's going on? And I guess maybe you could make an argument of why it was there, but I just wish that we had a little bit more. But I still did enjoy it. I haven't given you any ratings, and I don't think I really wrote down many ratings. I don't know. That's hard. I haven't written down in my reading journal in a while, so I haven't really sat and thought about the ratings to give. This one was a 4.5 though. Oh my gosh, I loved this book. This is the Mephisto Club. This is Tess Gerritsen's book, the Rizzoli and Isles series. This is number like, I don't know, 6 in the series or something. And oh man, this book is so good. If you guys want something Silence of the Lambs like, highly recommend this series. It is so good, and it's the only book that I've really felt like feels Silence of the Lambs-ish fully. So you have Rizzoli, she's a detective, and then you have Isles, Maura Isles, she's the ME, medical examiner, and they end up coming across a body, and they are both at the scene, and it seems very ritualistic, almost satanic, and they're trying to figure out what exactly this person is trying to say. However, there's another woman who's been in previous books. She's some sort of psychiatrist or something, and she tries to get in the mind of serial killers and get them off of their sentencing. And so a lot of cops have issues with her because they don't believe that that's what should happen. But that's truly how she feels. Like, she really does try to get into the mind of these killers. So anyway, she becomes mixed in with this, and you have this back and forth between the US and a lot of like travel through Europe. So the police and the ME get kind of mixed in with this Mephisto Club, and they are from all over the world, and they're people who believe in evil. So here's the thing. I learned so much reading this. I learned about these additional books that were taken out of the Bible. I believe it's called the Book of Enoch. I could be pronouncing that wrong. And there's another one too that's a J, but I can't remember. Was it Jubilee? The Book of Jubilee? Yeah. And in there, it gave you a little bit of information on these books. Basically, the Mephisto Club has read these books, and they believe that there were these fallen angels, so demons, who began to sleep with the human race and made these subhuman beings that they believe are still descendants, are still on this earth. So they believe that's why kind of evil things happen, because they're not like full humans, but they're not demonic beings. They're like this mix between both. But it is very like good versus evil, supernatural versus reality. There's always like additional themes to these books, and that's why I love them, because there's a story, but then you have these things revolving around the story, and in this one it was very like good versus evil. Loved this book. This was fantastic. Gave this a 4.5 stars. Highly recommend the series. If you haven't read anything by this author, highly recommend. Oh, you know what? Even before I read this one, I read Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. So sorry, before that, I read this guy. This is by Clay McLeod Chapman. This is the first book that I read from this author. Now, cover, amazing. Inside, fantastic. I mean, one of the coolest looking books that I've seen in a long time. I had to pick it up. I didn't realize it was a political book when I picked it up. And I even was, when I read what it was about in my book haul, I was like, ooh, this probably isn't gonna be for me. This was my book club. This was our book club choice for this month. So we did a whole live stream discussing it. If you guys haven't watched it and you want kind of a deep dive on that, you can watch that video. I knew this one probably wasn't gonna be for me going into it. And yeah, it really wasn't. Here's the thing though. Surprisingly, there was a lot in here that I did like. It wasn't just political commentary. There was a lot of social commentary in here as well. But there was just a lot being kind of thrown in together that I feel like it almost did a disservice to the book. I wish that it would have just taken out the politics and focused on these social issues, because I think that would have been actually really interesting. So you got to see this family's descent into madness, essentially, through these vices, whatever that was. Be it politicized news, be it social media, porn addiction, the parasocial relationships. So you got to see this family's descent into madness and really like losing their grip with humanity. It was cool. That part was cool. And then you have the brother. So it was like a husband, wife, and children. This guy's brother, he was worried about his parents because he couldn't reach his parents. They end up being really sucked into politicized like right-wing news. And there's this like revolution or reawakening happening. And everyone's just kind of losing their minds. Kind of like a apocalyptic type story. And I did enjoy the ending, but for me, it just felt like there was a lot going on. There were some things thrown in here that I was quite confused about. I had a lot of questions about, and we did talk through a lot of things in the live stream, so I did definitely get more other people's viewpoints and stuff, which I really did appreciate. But it seemed like this was more of a love it or hate it type book. Like there are some people who really, really enjoyed it, and then there are other people who really, really didn't. So I think it's just more kind of what you're into. And because I'm not a big fan of on the nose politicized books, like I think, like someone had mentioned 1984 in that discussion, and we were talking about how that was such a timeless novel and you can kind of pick that up at any point in time and feel some sort of connection to it. Whereas these sort of politicized novels, they're just kind of like for this specific time, right this moment. And I don't know that they'll be as lasting as that because they're very on the nose of like what is exactly happening right now. Those aren't really the type of politicized books that I enjoy reading. And that's just, you know, preference. So that's my thought on that guy. However, I will read more from this writer and I was interested in some of the parts. I just feel like he took on a lot in one book. Next, I read Snickerdoodle Secrets by Addison Moore. This is my cozy mystery, you know, there's a murder, you get it. I will say this book I didn't love as much as the other ones. There was some stuff in here that kind of changed, I felt like the romance aspect for me, like the love triangle in there. But it's still cool how, this is what, number 20 in this. I've read 20 of these freaking books. And it's cool that I'm not bored of them yet. And I still like going back to Honey Hollow and she does something different every time. And like they're still interesting and enjoyable reads and they're just cute, silly books. And so yeah, pretty impressive that she still has such a hold on me over this like freaking silly love triangle that's 20 books long. Next, I read Deep. Oh my god, you guys. Okay. This is by Jane Diamond, and the tagline on this is Welcome to Station 6, and 6 is crossed out and it says Welcome to Station 6. It's just like, oh my gosh. Okay, so first, before I even begin, there's nothing wrong with smut books, and if that's what you enjoy reading, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. So I hope you guys know if you guys loved this book and I didn't love it, that's totally fine, you know? Some books just aren't for us. I just would never want people to think that I'm trying to hate on an entire genre of novels. Smut books are so popular right now. So anyways, this is my book club pick for my group of girlfriends. I told you, we have very different tastes. I did not look at the books that other people suggested. I only suggested my own, and someone else is picking the books like from a random selection. So I didn't look at them. I had no idea that we were going to Smut Town. I didn't know anything. From what I heard, she said, I like romance books. So I'm thinking like, oh, romance, oh, they love each other. No, that's not what romance means nowadays, ladies and gents. So anyways, this one is about this girl named, I think her name's Elena, yeah. She ends up going to space. And in space, it's pretty much just military training. Truthfully, space didn't have anything to do with it. And if they were on the ground, it wouldn't have made any difference at all. It's basically just training for the military, right? But she falls in love with her, what do they call him? Like her training dude. So she falls for him, he falls for her. They're like, oh, you're hot, let's do it, whatever. And it's like kind of BDSM-y, but like not even really. Not even really. He just ties her up and she just like sits there. And I'm like, I would be so bored. What is going on? Okay, anyways, if this is what you like, there's no problem with that, you know? But it just was not a book for me. So let me be more concise. They go to space, okay? She's training in this program. She's like a cadet training. He is the sergeant training her. They start to fall for each other so loosely, okay? I use that term so loosely. They're in space. And I'm just going to be so honest with you guys. It is just fingering in space. That's what this book should be called. Fingering in space. That's it. It's 300 pages of that. Yep. It was strange. Okay. And I was expecting a cover like this. I'm like, there's got to be wieners galore. Nope. Not until the last like 20 pages of the book. That's it. And I was kind of excited to read a smut book. So I'm like, well, I've never read one before. Maybe it'll be hot. I don't know. Maybe. No one's brave enough to say it. I'll say it. This was not it. This was not hot. This was not at all what I thought it was gonna be. And also, okay, the guy like breathes on her and she finishes like 6 times. I'm like, I know this is sci-fi, but come on. It was just a little unrealistic to me, okay? And maybe that's because I'm not doing BDSM in space, but yeah, this was a weird one. I'm not gonna lie. Even the girl who picked it was like, this was weird. I'm like, okay, not just me. But it says that it's a kinky, forbidden older brother's best friend romance. Oh, here's another thing. This guy, the sergeant guy, is not a man. He is just an amalgamation of walking red flags, okay? He does everything he can to push her boundaries, to overstep where he should. Every time she says, don't do this, he does it. It's just like him trying to manipulate and embarrass her. And if that's what she's into, I guess whatever. But for me reading it, I was like, how does anybody think this is hot? This is just like so disrespectful. That's why I said like a romance. No, I just didn't feel like there was any sort of romance or like mutual anything. I just was not a fan of this, okay? I didn't like it. Next up, I read this guy. So for Patreon, we do these little TBR cards, and the TBR card for this month was why I picked this book. So this is called The Fifth Child by Doris Lessing. And this was honestly really fucking sad. This was another one that I was just like, I was not expecting this book to be so sad. It's about this family. They buy this beautiful house, huge house. They get married. They start having a bunch of kids. They want like 8 kids. And everyone's super judgy towards them. And they're like, oh, why? But they very much so want like the American dream. They have a bunch of family over and staying with them on the holidays, and everything's joyous and happy. But then it starts to like wear and strain on them because they have so many kids and a lot's going on. And the more kids they have, the more exhausted the mom is, and blah, blah, blah. She ends up having this 5th child who is a monster. Everyone just calls him a monster. He looks weird and he acts weird and he kind of just creeps everyone out. Oh, and he like kills pets and stuff. So he, you know, I don't know. There's some messed up stuff in here. This book was published in '88 and I just can't believe how different things are from them then till now. And like, thank goodness, you know. But there's some messed up conversations about not the 5th child, but some other kid that has some issues, and they have to hide it away under a blanket as to not upset anyone. It's just really, it's a fucked up story. And I don't think that it's read through, you know, it's difficult with a book like this because it's hard to not read it through the lens of 2024, which makes you think that it's more about being so like hateful of a child who's stuck in a world that's obviously not catered to them, and they just like do not understand how to be human, and they have to watch their siblings so that they can follow them, but it's not an instinctual thing. And this kid has no emotions. Like, he doesn't feel any love, or, well, I guess he does in his own way, but not the way that the family wants him to. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is That's kind of, I think, the way that most people in 2025 would read that book. But I think it's more about parenthood in general and just like living this American dream and how things can fall apart and it's hard, and like having to split yourself in so many different ways and take on so many different tasks. Everyone is always so easy or quick to point fingers and blame at the mom, like, well, you made him, you wanted all these kids, you, and she's like, what about me though? Like, I'm the one that's struggling, and everyone else just wants to get rid of the child. It's so messed up. They're like, just, you know, send it away. No one wants to deal with it. No one wants to look at it. People stop coming by because they're so fearful of this child. And she still loves it. It's still her kid, but she is also very cautious. And because of the relationship that she has with this kid, she doesn't have fulfilled relationships with her other children, and just kind of everything. It's like dominoes. It all just falls apart. Well, I guess at the core, I think in the 80s, it was written as like how difficult it is to be a mom, I think, or just like a standing pillar of a family in general. I guess specifically a mother too, because there's a lot of love and empathy and sympathy that comes with being a mother. I think that doesn't come with the parts of the other parts of the family in this book specifically. But anyways, I don't know. Would definitely be curious to see if anyone's read this and kind of what your thoughts are. But man, it was a really sad book. I think just any book where a child is not treated right is a really tough book to read. And I wouldn't even say it's a horror book, really. It's more of like a family drama. Same with that Lamb book. That one almost feels like a family drama too, just like a slow burn family drama. But yeah, what a sad book. Okay, the next one that I read was called A Story of Yesterday. This is by Sergio Coba, and this does not tell you anything. It just says, A Story of Yesterday is a concise and straight punch to the jaw of life. Under a sky of different colors germinates a magical story of survival where the results of each choice enclosed in this particular tale will snatch the whereabouts of each story forever. So it doesn't give you any information, so I'm kind of hesitant to tell you what the story's about, because I feel like it might be one of those where it's better to just go in not really knowing. I will say that there are some cool things done in the story, like one person, every time they smoke, their smoke is pink. And so colors are used a lot in this story. It's also a sad story, and there's different elements like relationships and friendships and other stuff like that. It definitely went in a way that I wasn't expecting it to go. And I did really enjoy this, and I did think that there were a lot of cool lines that I highlighted throughout, and I did think it was an interesting read. The only thing I'll say is there were some things where I'm like, I wish this was a little bit less confusing. Some things were confusing, either some lines, or like there was one character that is referred to as a him and then a her and then a him again, and I was like, what? So I wasn't really, maybe I'm missing something, which is, you know, obviously very possible, but it did seem like when I was reading some of the reviews that a few people were like, I was confused in a few parts. So I don't think it was just me who either saw that or was confused by something because we didn't get the full story. But yeah, you know, I know, kind of annoying. It's a book where I'm just like, yeah, read it for yourself if you want to, even though you don't know anything about it. But that one I wouldn't say is a horror story either. It's more, again, kind of like a drama. Yeah, I guess that's what I'll say. Although, maybe more of a thriller, because there are some like thrillery aspects in there. But otherwise, those are the books that I read this month. A little bit of everything. A lot of sad stuff, honestly. After this one, I'm like, okay, no more sad stuff. None. No more. Come on. Oops. So that's what I read. A bit of everything. Oh, the best and the worst book. I think this was the best book that I read this month. And instead of saying the worst book, I'm going to say my least favorite, because it's not the worst book. You know, it just wasn't for me. And that's Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. I think he honestly just took on a whole lot. That was a lot to chew for 400 pages. Let me know what you guys read this month. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your most favorite and least favorite as well. And I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye guys!